Tonight on the Joy Behar Show, with only 9 filing days left until Christmas, Tiger Woods' wife, Elin, has reportedly spoken to one of the country's top divorce lawyers. Will Santa drop down Tiger's chimney and take away 50% of his goodies? We'll discuss. Then, in speaking about America's need to fight climate change, Arnold Schwarzenegger throws Sarah Palin under the dog sled. And from Saturday Night Live, actor-comedian, my doppelganger, Fred Armisen, joins me. Now, that is one beautiful woman, huh? All that and much more starts now. Here's a shocking twist in the Tiger tale. A mere 14 women have been linked romantically with the Uber golfer. Yet today, new reports say Tiger's wife is planning to head to divorce court. Doesn't anybody believe in the sanctity of marriage anymore? Besides me? Here to discuss are Dr. Drew Pinsky, star of VH1 Sex Rehab with Dr. Drew. I love the title. Janice Min, a former editor at Us Weekly, and Vikki Ziegler, divorce attorney. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I love to have you here. Now, People magazine is reporting that the wife is out of there. Is she going to leave? What do you think?
You know, now it's multiple outlets saying she's done, that she's meeting with divorce attorneys. She's had it. You know, she made a very powerful statement walking out without her ring on the other day. You know, she's Mrs. Tiger Woods. She usually probably has someone else pump her gas, and she went to a gas station not wearing the ring, and
exactly.
You know, yeah.
What state did she do that in?
Florida.
In Florida. Who gets out of a car in Florida? It's so hot.
Yeah.
You have somebody pump for you, right?
Exactly, exactly. And then, you know, she took the kids out for Thai food, and, you know, she walked a little bit slowly. She looked happy and pretty.
I know. At first, I thought maybe she just forgot the ring, but no. She did it on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are the mistresses out of the picture now?
Well, they're always going to be in the picture, I think.
But I mean, are they out of the picture for him right now?
No. I mean,
he's still talking to them and
yes,
texting them?
Us Weekly has a report this week that Rachel Ucatel, who we all know, that she and Tiger are still in communication. And, you know, of course, she mysteriously showed up in Florida. You know, her camp is saying her mom also lives there, but it's also right by his yacht named Privacy.
Just so happens.
And, you know, he still is in communication.
Okay, Vikki, let me ask you, because you're a divorce lawyer. Why file in California when you live in Florida?
Well, I don't think she's filing yet. I think she's seeking counsel in California.
Oh.
This is the reason why.
Oh, yes, she's got a lawyer. He's 100 years old. His name is...
he's 82.
Whatever.
Right.
I don't know his
Sorrel
name.
Trope. And
that's
she's consulting with him. I don't know if she's retained, and this is the reason why. If they can invalidate the prenup, we don't know what the prenup says. If they can kick it out and they can file in California because they have a house there, then she's going to get half of what he's earned during the marriage. That's the whole legal strategy at this point versus filing in Florida and say somehow if the prenup gets kicked out there, it's an equitable distribution state, she's not going to get half. So that's the whole theory. And I think originally there were reports that Elin was renegotiating the prenup and she was going to stay with him. I think that's out the window. I mean, how many mistresses do you need to determine that it's time to get divorced from this guy?
I don't know how many he needs. I mean, could she file in Sweden?
She can. And that's very interesting. I tried to do some research. I haven't had a case in Sweden ever. But in Sweden, apparently, they don't adopt prenuptial agreements. They don't enforce them. So that would be good for her if she could get more. And also, it's like a California state.
Would it be valid, though, in this country if it's in Sweden?
Well, they can adopt a foreign agreement. The question is, I'd love to get my hands on that prenup because I really want to see what it says. Choice of law. Where can you enforce the prenup? Where do you file a complaint for divorce? That's really the operating question right now.
Okay. Dr. Drew, I want to get you into this conversation. I have to hear from you about whether the guy is a sex addict or not. You're in the business.
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly features of sexual addiction here. And one thing you've got to say is that it's not as though the problems in this marriage just erupted at the time of that car accident we're all aware of. There's no doubt this has been going on for a long time. And this is just a severe crisis that's leading apparently to divorce, which is really very sad. I mean, there's a family involved here. There are children involved. We would normally advise people to stick it out. Both people get in treatment. The outcomes can be very good. But the fact that she's heading for the hills so fast suggests this has been going on for a long time.
She should stick it out.
I mean,
why should she stick it out? Why?
Well, a couple reasons. One is whatever the reason was they got married for in the first place, and they have a family together. The reality is the spouse in situations like this also have a lot to work on, and we bring them together and get both of them engaged in treatment. They end up in a better place than they're going to be separately reenacting these same things all over again with more people. The fact is that whatever is You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, whatever. So whatever attracted her to him in the first place, she needs to work that out.
Precisely.
But you know, that's so interesting. He's married to a beautiful blonde, and he goes out with beautiful blondes. Why doesn't he try, you know, a brunette? Penelope Cruz, I thought today. What little variety?
He did have some brunettes. He did have some brunettes. I mean, we're just seeing the women who like to pose in lingerie coming out right now. I think there are probably 14, 40 more out there. But I think, you know, speaking to Dr. Drew's point, I think that it would be impossible for Elin to stay. I think the things he relayed, I mean, we're living in the digital age. All these women save their text messages and emails. The things he has said to them are unbelievable. Like, basically that he's in a business arrangement with his wife. He doesn't love her, that you're the one, you of the 14, you know, you're the one for me. And he's a total narcissist. I don't really see that changing.
But we don't know if that's true. I mean, people that are cheating, we don't know if they're just saying it to obviously continue their courtship or not. And I think at the end of the day, the question is, could she ever forgive Tiger Woods for these infidelities, and will he stop? And to Dr. Drew's point, yes, we hope people can get into therapy, but it takes two to really want to make it work. And I think she's probably so far gone that he goes to grab some milk at the corner store. Who knows what he's going to do? He could court the clerk there. So I think at the end of the day, she's really got to go forward here.
Grabbing some milk, that's great.
They have small children.
Whatever. Listen, Dr. Drew, what's the difference between a sex addict and some loser who has no self-control?
Well, bottom line is a loss of control, shame, and oftentimes you see childhood traumas. That's usually the inciting influence. But the issue of loss of control, the desire to change what they've got going on and the inability to do so. A guy who's single, acting out a lot, that may be a compulsive thing. There may have features of sexual addiction, but you really wouldn't qualify it as that unless there were consequences, really significant consequences, and a desire to change, but inability to control, a loss of control.
So, like Bill Clinton, was he or is he a sex addict, or is he just a dog?
And yeah, he definitely had those qualities.
He had, and David Duchovny is another one who came out and said he was a sex addict, and I believe Michael Douglas used to be. He sort of, Catherine Zeta cured him.
Yeah.
But what you guys have to remember is that although you've got a Chiron up there that says 3 to 6% of the American population have sexual addiction, the reality is drug addicts, alcoholics, most all of them have some form of sexual addiction. So if somebody's primary issue is chemical addiction, that actually has to be treated first, and many times the sexual addictions calm down when the chemical addiction is treated.
Well, it must be harder to treat a sex addiction than an alcoholic addiction or a food or a drug addiction, I would think, because you can deal with the physiology of alcohol and food and drugs, right? But a sex addiction is really in your head.
That's right. It's very deeply embedded in that person's who they are and their emotional lives, and the kinds of traumas that incite this are so tender and so painful. If you watch Sex Rehab, you see we're getting into these major, very painful issues, and that has to be worked through for long periods of time, during which time the addict has to be willing to remain abstinent, go to 12-step meeting. It takes a lot of work, and if somebody is not willing to work on it or doesn't want to change, it ain't going to change.
Well, you know, I think that maybe he can go into therapy, but I don't know. I don't even know if it can be cured.
Why did he get married in the first place?
Well, Dr. Drew, why do they get married in the first place? You know these people.
Well, I'll tell you what, every single one of them, when you sit down and close the door, they will say, you know what, all I dream of is one day having a family of my own, somebody to really love, closeness, but they have no model for intimacy, they have no capacity for intimacy, and when they get into these sort of pseudo-intimate situations and establish a family, they sabotage, they act out on the side, and it's exactly what's going on here. But every one of them has a wish, as every human does, for real closeness, and ultimately, as you grow older, you want a family.
Well, he's a young guy. I ask a lot of the men that come on this show the same question that I'm going to ask you, Dr. Drew, and maybe you ladies can answer the question. If he's with a woman, his wife, and he obviously is cheating on her with all these women, so he's acting out his sexual fantasies all over the place, now he's got caught. He got caught. You can't do it. You know, what are you going to do with him? Put him in a chastity belt now? I mean, the point is, what is he supposed to do for sex now? He's a young man. He may not want to sleep with his wife, and she may not want to sleep with him anymore. So what is he supposed to do now? I asked this of a couple of guys on the show before, and they never give me a good answer.
I don't think anyone. I think he'll just be more discreet. Honestly,
He'll be more discreet.
You know, I mean, this is a guy who was like, you know, had women come up to him in clubs in Vegas, and they are like nuzzling and, you know, being very obvious.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, if you're to believe all these women, he's having sex in a church parking lot.
So he'll just be sneakier.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Well, thank you, everybody, for making this a continuing, interesting conversation. Make sure you catch the season finale of Sex Rehab with Dr. Drew on Sunday at 10 on on VH1. More when we come back.